Hello and welcome back to Coding for Real with Neil. I'm your host. My name, of course, is Neil. This course is PHP for Real, where we take a look at PHP and we try and explain it using real-world scenarios and real-world objects. In this lesson, we're going to be taking a look at conditionals. There are 4 conditional statements in PHP, and I'm going to be taking a look at all 4 in this lesson. And as always, I want you to think about something during this lesson because I like to apply things to the real world because I find it easier to remember. And what I want you to think about is everyday decisions that you're required to make. So one example would be whether or not you take an umbrella with you when you go outside, right? Another decision that you may need to make is, am I going to put my washing on? So just everyday decisions, things like that, is what I want you to think about during the course of this lesson. But anyway, don't want to keep you for too long. It's a really exciting lesson, and I'll see you in there. Now, if you haven't done so yet, please do hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, and it helps me to reach and teach more people. I'm really trying to push to get to 100 subscribers as quickly as possible. So if you haven't done so yet, it doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps me out. So please do hit that subscribe button. What is a conditional statement? A conditional statements perform a set of actions based on whether a condition is true or not. Right? That's exactly what a conditional statement is. So in the introduction, I had you thinking about decisions that you make on a daily basis, and I gave you some examples like whether you take an umbrella to work or not, or whether you do your laundry. So this is what conditional statements are. So what it would be is there would be a condition, and the condition for the umbrella example is it raining outside? If this is true, so if it is raining, then the action would be take an umbrella, okay? If it's not raining, so if the condition returns false, then you wouldn't take an umbrella, and that is the action. So that is what conditional statements do. And conditional statements, you're going to use them all the time in your programming journey. They're so common and so popular. In PHP, there are 4 different types of conditionals. There is if, there is if else, there is if, else if, else, and there is the switch statement. And these are the 4 that I'm going to be going through in this lesson. The first one is the if condition, and the if condition, you very rarely use this by itself. The way you would set it up is the first thing we do need to do is we need to open and close our PHP tag so that the browser knows that we are rendering PHP within a PHP document. Then the first thing you would do is you would have the conditional keyword, then you would open and close parentheses, then you would open and close curly brackets. And that is how you set up a conditional. Now you see this is returning an error because we haven't input a condition yet. So in the example I gave you with the rain, where whether it's raining or not would set the action of whether you take an umbrella or not. So first let's set a variable here. Let's set a variable here called raining. And this is going to be a bool, if you remember about bools. If not, do check out my video on data type. So if raining, let's set that to true to begin with. Okay, and then in here we say if raining, and then in here we would action to take. And this reads very logically. If you read this from left to right, which is the way the browser interprets it, it very simply says, if it's raining, take this action. And then in here you could echo out, for example, I need to take my umbrella. Ella, Ella. And that is the if conditional. It's that simple. You set the conditional, which is if, you set the condition, and whether that returns true or false. So if this raining is true as it is, it's going to perform everything inside of the curly brackets. If we change this to false, then it's going to ignore everything inside the curly brackets because this is returning false, unless you use the not operator. So if it's not raining, this statement here is now true because raining is false. So it's now going to echo this, but that doesn't make any sense. We're not going to take an umbrella when it's not raining. So if it's raining, we echo out, I need to take my umbrella. Over in the browser, because we have raining is equal to true, if it's raining, we're going to echo, I need to take my umbrella. So over in the browser, here we are over in PHP course lesson 9, let's refresh, and we get I need to take my umbrella because the if conditional has returned true. Okay, so this is the if statement, right? I'm just going to put here if. The next one we're going to look at is if else. And this is exactly the same as the if statement. Let's copy and paste this down here, except all we do is we add in kind of like a default. So we would add in here else, and now this doesn't need to take in a condition for the else. And then in here we would do action to take if false, right? And this here is action to take if true. So what this is doing is this is saying if the variable of raining, so if it's raining, then echo out I need to take my umbrella. Else, or if it's not, echo I don't need to take my umbrella. So that's all the if else is. It works exactly the same as the if, it's just adding in a default. And this is, you would very rarely use an if statement just by itself. You would always have, most of the time, you would have an else clause in there as well, because if this returns false, it's just going to exit straight out and go on to the next line of code. So you want to have an else. You know, maybe you're returning an error and saying why this didn't return true or something like that. You would generally have an if and an else. You would never be using if by itself. That is the if-else conditional. The third type is called the if, else statement. And you're probably seeing a theme here where if is just returning one. If one variable is true, then do something. The if else is returning something if it's true and something if it's false. The if else statement, what this does is this tests for more than one condition. So the example I'm going to use is, let's say we're building a testing facility for students, and it's going to return their score. So once their scores are tallied, it's going to return them. So first we will set up a variable called student score. Okay, we don't have to set that to anything, but let's not set it now. So we have student score, and then what we want to do is we want to return something based on whatever the student score is. So what we would do is we would say if. In here we would put student score, which is the variable that's containing the student score. And we would say if this is less than 50, for example, okay, open and close parentheses, then we would echo out, you failed, please try again, right? Very, very simple stuff. Then in here, we would simply do else if. We need to put in a conditional for an else if because we are testing a second condition. We would again put in student score, and we would say else if student score is greater than or equal to 51, and remember the and, if not, do check out my operators video, and student score is less than 70. In here we would echo you passed, well done. And then we would put in the default. We have to put in a default with the if else if statement. Don't need to put in a condition. So this is going to anything that's above 70, it would echo out you got a distinction. Congratulations. Just like that. So the if else statement is checking more than one condition. So we first got the if statement, and it's checking that if this student score, if it's less than 50, let's make this actually less than or equal to 50, because right now the way we've got this set up, we don't have 50 included. So if the student score is less than or equal to 50, I want you to echo out, you failed, please try again. You failed, please try again. Then we're going to test a second condition, else if student score is greater than or equal to 51 and student score is less than 70, less than or equal to 70, then we want it to echo out, you passed, well done. And then else, so the default, you're going to echo out, you got a distinction, congratulations. Let me just echo out some breaks up here, echo a break here. And I also want to echo a break here. And just in case we change that, we'll put a break here as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test this logic. And it's a good idea to test as you build applications. So let's set this student score equal to 45. All right, so it's less than or equal to 50. So if this is working correctly, we should see you failed, please try again, come out in the browser. And over here on the browser, you can see here we get you failed, please try again. Let's test the other conditions. So back over in Visual Studio, let's change this score to be equal to 62. 62 is greater than or equal to 51, it's greater than, and it is less than or equal to 70. So both of these conditions are returning true. So it should echo out you passed, well done. Let's have a look. Over in the browser, we refresh and we get you passed, well done. Let's test the last condition. Not really a condition, but let's just test this last one. We're going to change this score to 80. Someone did really well on this test and they got a score of 80. So this first condition is returning false because it's not less than or equal to 50. This else if is returning false because the student score is not in between 51 and 70. So what we should see here is the default, or the else, which says you got a distinction, congratulations. Let's have a look. You got a distinction, congratulations. And that simply is the if else statement. The final conditional statement is what's known as the switch statement. And this works a little bit differently. What this switch statement does is it takes an expression, it's most normally a variable, and it evaluates that one time. And then it compares that value against a bunch of different cases and it executes the code based on which case matches the expression. Let's do an example. Let's set a variable called car, and we set this car to the string of Toyota. Right, very simple stuff. Then what we do is we set the switch statement. So that is a reserved keyword. And then just like before, we need to open and close parentheses, open and close curly brackets. Inside these curly brackets, just like with the if and the else if statements, we need to put in the condition, the expression that we're checking. Inside these curly brackets, what we do is we set up a bunch of different cases. So the first one is, let's do a case, and we would set this to the string of, let's say, Honda. Then we would put a colon, and then underneath that, the second line is the code that you want to execute, the action you want to take. Your car is a Honda. You would end the line, and then what you would need to do to prevent the code from automatically going on to the next case is you would need to add in a break and put a semicolon. This is a switch statement and how it works. Let me just do the next one. So here we would set another case and we would call that Toyota, put in the colon, then you would echo out your car is a Toyota. Then you would put in a break, just like that. And then one thing you do need to do is you need to make sure you put in a default. And very simply, you'll just put in default. And this is if none of the cases match the expression. Default, and then the code you want to run, if none of them match, you don't own a car. All right, let's run through this. What we're doing is we're setting up the variable, the expression that we're checking, okay? And it is most of the time a variable. Then we use the switch keyword. As soon as PHP reads this switch keyword, it knows that it's comparing this expression to the cases. So what it does is it evaluates this once and it goes, right, I'm checking for the string of Toyota. Then we open and close parentheses and we go, right, the first case here is the string Honda. The switch statement is going to go, no, Honda does not equal Toyota. So it's not going to echo this out. Then it's going to see the break. It's going to go to the next case. It's going to go case. Does Toyota equal Toyota? Yes, it does. Excellent. I'm going to perform this action right here. So it performs this action because Toyota matches the expression that's passed in. It performs this action and then it sees the break, but because it's already performed an action, it can only perform one of these cases. It's going to exit out and continue on with the program. So that's what the switch statement does. Takes an expression, evaluates it once, and then compares it to all of the values that are set in each of the cases. So let's save this and go over to the browser. If this is working correctly, we should get your car is a Toyota. Over in the browser, let's refresh. Your car is a Toyota, just like that. Let's check the default to double check that the default is working. So back over here, let's make this a Ford. So it's going to check Honda. Honda is not a Ford. Sees the break, goes to the next case. Toyota. Toyota is not a Ford. Sees the break, goes to the next case. Next case is default. Okay, none of these cases returned true. Therefore, we're going to output the default. So what we should see here is you don't own a car. Back over in the browser, you don't own a car. And that is the switch statement. Hey guys, congratulations on making it to the end of lesson 9. In this lesson, you learned all about conditional. You learned about the if statement, the if-else statement, the if-else statement, and the switch statement. Conditionals are everywhere in programming. Every programming language has conditionals. They're used all the time for all sorts of different functions. So it's really, really important that you do learn this stuff. So if it didn't make sense, please do watch the video again so that you do understand conditionals, because ultimately I am here for you. I'm here to help you understand PHP and programming in a broader sense. So the next lesson is a really exciting one. We're really getting into some good content now. The next lesson is going to be all about loops. Loops, again, are another super important topic, and that lesson is going to be really, really exciting, and I can't wait to share it with you. I'll see you then.